Well, hello there, stamping friends. This is Traci Raether from Plum Crazy Stamping. It is February 4th, 2026, and it's time for our Wednesday card making lesson here at Plum Crazy Stamping. So, as you're joining me today, please sign in with the comments. I am interested in knowing who you are and where you're watching from. And as you watch the broadcast today, I'm also interested in any questions you may have or feedback to have on the projects themselves or the products that I'm using. And if you are watching this on YouTube, you can also sign into the comments. You just need to be in your YouTube or your Google account, which are both the same thing. And if you're on Facebook, you can just use the comments. Let me just double check my phone there. We're ready to go. All right. I'm so excited today to share with you what is my favorite online exclusive set of products. These are awesome. They're a little bit different, and I believe are going to be so much fun for this spring. I have a number of things that I'm going to be doing with them already this month, and then we're going to see what comes next. But let me go ahead and introduce them to you because, as I said, they are an online exclusive and not in the catalog. So I decided to make a little sampler pack here for you to show this to you. So this is called the Lovely Blossoms Sweet Collection. And so it consists first of a bundle of products. And that's what I have put right here on this card. So all of the things that you see stamped, including 2 different types of flower blossoms, all of these awesome sentiments, and then the die cuts being like 2 background ones. We've got a leaf that you stamp and then cut out, and then actually just die cut leaves. The blossoms here that you can stamp have dies to cut them out as well. And there are 2 sentiment labels. So this is really a whole lot of stuff. And that's what I found when I started working with this was, oh my goodness, I just didn't want to stop. I actually had stuff all over my desktop when I was playing with this. So then also included in this suite, though, it's not just the stamp set and the dies. There's also this beautiful set of designer series paper, which I'm going to show you a little bit up front because this designer series paper has 12 sheets, but there are 3 sheets of 4 different types that have 2-sided designs, and it's really gorgeous. So I'm going to show you that up a little closer. And there are 3 then out of those 12 pieces of paper that are filled with card panels. And that's what I'm going to focus on sharing with you today, because does that make card design easy? I can't wait to share that. Then there is this beautiful textured ribbon in one of the new in colors called Cloud Cover. And this is really a beautiful textured ribbon. And I am falling more and more in love with this Cloud Cover and Secret Sea, which are both in this suite of products. Also, there is a new embossing folder that I am totally in love with as well. And it's called Lovely Stripes. And let me see if you can see that up close. Not only are there raised lines, there are dots on those lines, and then there are areas that are more depressed, and then those that are popping up, and they go every other one. It's really, really pretty. And then there are these moody palette of glossy dots in our Secret Sea, Old Olive, Cloud Cover, and then Basic White. Really nice things to choose from. Okay, so we've got that. Now let me just show these products to you, and then we're going to go ahead. I actually have 2 cards that are already made I'm going to share with you, and then we're going to make 2 together today. Let me show you that embossing folder up close. I don't know if this helps you to see the detail that is in this one. This is unique. We've been doing corrugated, mini corrugated, but this one is called Lovely Stripes. Really a nice folder to go with this. And then we've got these glossy dots. And I like that they are 3D. You're going to see them on the card, and they really look pretty, and the shininess really comes out. All right, and you saw all of the images in the Stampin' Dies, but let's take a look at this paper a little more closely, because like I said, this is what I'm going to feature today. Now look at these panels. So we've got 2 by 2 inch squares, and I'm going to show you how I incorporate that into a card. Then we have some smaller card panels, and let's see, these measure 3 inches by 4 inches. And then we have the largest panels of all, which are 4 inches by 6 inches. So this makes a whole card panel if you take off, you know, a 1/2 inch, and or this would be beautiful in a scrapbook. You know, anything from weddings to Mother's Day to Easter coming up. There is so much versatility with this panel. If you don't like card panels and don't want to use this, the back of this sheet are these beautiful stripes, which really go so well together. But what I liked is I wanted to use on my card panels. So since I didn't want to use the stripes, I used the embossing folder, which I am going to be featuring in a class I'm doing about embossing, heat embossing. And I have used a lot of that textured embossing folder in there along with heat embossing. So then the second set of designs in this paper has the green kind of linen look behind it, and then these white flowers with cloud cover and having the Secret Sea behind here as well as petal pink. So I think this is also a little bit different. So, you know, if we look at the color palette for this, I don't recall seeing these kind of colors together. So, you know, 2 out of all of these are the new in colors. So Secret Sea and Cloud Cover, but we've got Petal Pink, Crumb Cake, Old Olive is really my favorite color for leaves. And then I've just put Basic White in here. So these are all of the colors that I'm going to be using on our cards. Well, hi, Betty and Donna and Kathy. Great to see you all. And the other Kathy, we've got 2 of you. How wonderful. Okay, so now we've got little flowers and then this geometric design. And I have fallen in love with this designer series paper. So I'll show you how I'm using it and trying to get the most out of it. And then we've got some petal pink, and then another way that these flowers are being used in the designer series paper. So lots of choices. It's a really fun set of designer series paper. So let's go ahead and look at the first 2 cards that I've already made using that card panel. And I just want to show you how very simple this was. So this was the panel that was 4 by 6, and I just cut a little bit off of there. I actually used the dies to get my sentiment label and used, I love this Hello Friend, and then just die cut some Old Olive leaves. The only thing that I have popped up is the Hello Friend. This was as you can imagine. So quick, but I think this is so pretty. And I just have, the white inside so I can write a note to a friend. The second panel, I decided to cut in the different direction. So this is with, doing it the long way. This is 4¼ by 11 inches and then scored at 5½. And here I took just I believe this is 2. Let me double check here. Yeah, I just took a 2-inch piece by 5½-inch piece of the designer series paper. I backed one of those panels when I cut it down a little bit to have a background, so a cardstock layer, because I wanted it to stand out from the crumb cake. And then adding to the design that was already pre-printed, popping up those dimensionals really added to the front of this card. I want to see if you can see the dimension on there. But the blue was already in the center. I'm sorry, the secret C. But then adding those popped up dots, and then I did the same thing by having the popped up sentiment. Once again, what a nice sized sentiment in the Love You. So these cards were very quick. And then on the inside, I used one of those 2-inch by 2-inch panels, used a scrap that I had from my Secret C, and also backed the 2-inch by 2-inch panel that was a part of the designer series paper. I just did 2¼ inch by 2¼ inch. And I think that's a great way to set off the inside of the card in a little bit different way. So that's the second card. Went quick. So let's go ahead and make a third card using these panels and a little bit more of the set. So let me just kind of pull all these pieces apart so you can see how I'm going to put them together. So I was having fun with 4¼ by 11. Once again, this is scored at 5½. Just going to go ahead and make a nice crease there. Now this time I did take a little bit bigger piece of the designer series paper to be 4 inches by 5¼ I'm just going to glue that right to the front of my card. Now, knowing you can do this in the Secret C, or you could do this in a very light, the lighter color on the other side. But I'll tell you, I was really feeling the Secret C in cloud cover. You're going to see when you see what I'm doing with my cards here. Although I did decide in this card making lesson, I was going to use the petal pink as my background, because I really think the contrast of petal pink with the Secret C really pops, and I like that. Okay. Then I took just a piece of cloud cover, and you could do this one of two ways. You can just back this and put this on here like this, so that's one choice. Or you can stagger this on the front of the card. I don't know which way you would prefer, but, and I guess I hadn't really made up my mind either. I guess we'll go with the more traditional layered pieces here. So let's just put the card panel on just the cardstock layer that's a 1/4 inch larger. So I took the 3 by 4 inch panel, and I used a 3¼ inch by 4¼ inch cloud cover panel. And then I think to create interest, I'm going to pop this whole panel up. So let me go ahead and do that. Some of my dimensionals. Well, Kathy, I'm glad you're joining us so you can chat with us all. All right. Here we go. Let's go ahead and just remove those pieces of adhesive here. All right. And I'm just going to eyeball centering that up. All right. Now I just want to add a little bit to the front. So what I did is, this is one of the blossoms in cloud cover, and then I did cut it out with the die cut. And I'm going to put that probably down here a little bit. Then I have my just a note, and all I did with this was a scrap that I used that will go from side to side here. And then I have some of these die cut leaves to put in place. Why don't I get this all down on the front of the card, and then I'll place those leaves at the very end. Well, I've got one part of these sentiments. I can tell that I did it twice. One was darker on the edge, and the other one is all the same thickness and a better stamped image. So that's why I did it again. Okay, so when I add my scraps many times to make it go across the card front, I like it to go all the way to the edges of where that cardstock layer are, because when they match, then it just brings the continuity of that design together. Hi, Renee. Nice to see you. I think I have said hello to everyone that's here. All right, now we're going to put this off to the side a little bit. I kind of like it up here where it doesn't cover all the flowers yet. I think it should be down here a little bit. It's kind of disconnected. Okay, I am going to put it down here. Let me just get one. All I need is one dimensional to hold this down. This would be pretty just like that. You wouldn't even have to add this on. I like the card as is that way. But let's add this. Okay, and let's go ahead and we'll be adding in the leaves. Kind of before I glue them down, seeing how they look. Oh, there, that looks better. Okay, so let's go ahead, and I am going to glue this bottom one down over the sentiment label. And it's just taking just a dot of glue to do that. Okay, and then I'm going to pop these up on dimensionals. So let's just get a little piece of the edge of my dimensional so I can fit that on the leaf. So when I was getting ready to try to design my cards for this and 2 other classes I'm doing with this suite this month, I actually did a whole bunch of die cutting, a whole bunch of stamping, and then die cutting. And then I did heat embossing and made a whole lot of things that I'm going to be able to utilize in everything I'm doing. And that's really made this fun. So then when I got to the part of card designing, I had all these parts and pieces and I could just play with them. So that was fun. Okay, so I had a scrap here of, I think this is 3/4 of an inch. Let's see. Yeah, I find I really like 3/4 of an inch on these scraps. And a lot of times that's the one I have because I have 6 inches and I cut them down to 5 1/4. So this is what I usually end up with. And I like this width. And this time I'm going to put it up a little bit from the bottom. Sometimes I make it go right to the bottom. I think this time I'm going to just leave a little white space. And then I'll put a little more glue on here. So I think that adds a little, like I said, sometimes I like it to go all the way to the bottom, but sometimes just leaving that little bit of white space adds a little bit. And then I could add another sentiment in here if I wanted to, but I think I'm just going to leave it as is. So there is another beautiful card. I'll tell you, this DSP really does the work, and there are such great sentiments. All right, let's look at one other one. And all the parts and pieces here. Kind of set this all out here. And I'm going to start with my same petal pink, 4 1/4 by 11. I've already, done the 5.5 inch score here. Thanks, Kathy. I'm glad you like it. Okay, and then I want to show you. So here is the embossed Old Olive using that embossing folder. Now, I ended up using it in my embossing class. I'm going to have the stripes go this way. I decided this one I'm going to put up and down to kind of elongate my card. All right, so let's go ahead and I'm just going to glue this in. And with my all-purpose glue here, I can get in these tracks to hold this down really well. I like that the glue kind of gushes in between all those layers to hold this nicely in place. I just want to move that over a little bit. I think this makes just a gorgeous background. And the Old Olive really pops, just like, Secret C does on the top of this card. Okay. So then what I did is I took 4 of the panels, that were on that sheet. And I'm just going to arrange them kind of like a quilt, if you will. And note, I am going to be trimming some of these off, but I am going to do this in the center. So once I kind of like the way that I have them arranged, and then I did some stamping and die cutting of blossoms to match the card base itself. So I've got a full blossom and a little half blossom here. I'm not quite sure how I'll put them together. And then I decided that I would stick with my sentiment label also. I don't know if it's going to go up there or down here. But I am putting the blues apart from each other. This one kind of is a color all on its own, I guess, as is this, but that brings out the green. And then I have some more of my die cut Old Olive leaves too that I'm going to incorporate into this design. But before I get ahead of myself, let me go ahead and I'm actually going to glue these down. And I'm going to put one in place and then I will butt the other designs right up to it. I am going to use the glue and keep this, right solid onto the card front because I've got quite a few layers I'm going to do here. And I'm just eyeballing this because if I do this and I do this, how much closer can I get these together? All right, so I think that is pretty good. And I'm just going to push that in place and let it, kind of get the stickiness. The name of the embossing folder is Lovely Stripes. Let me double check and make sure I'm telling you the truth here. Yeah, Lovely Stripes. Okay, now let's go ahead, and I've got these two that are going to go in place, and then I'll slide the last one in. Now, I could have cut these down to have them actually fit on the card front. I didn't do that. I may wish I had after I see it, but I didn't. So we're going to go with this. And you can either love it or say, Trace, you should have done it the other way. So if you had made these like 1 inch by 1 inch, I think they would have all fit, you know, without having the edges trimmed. I was just trying to use these as is. Okay. So I'm just going to hold those in place for a moment. You know, you really, with the embossing folder behind here and how 3D it is, I am making sure that I'm pressing in between those ridges to hold this down. Okay. So now let's go ahead and trim this before we do the next step. So let me get my scissors that I use for those things that have glue on them. Right, and then I'm going to pop up one of these flowers, and I think the other one I'm going to have, I think I'm going to do that one off center just a little bit, and that'll be the one I pop up because I want to be able to get leaves behind it. So I'll leave that a little bit off to the side. Okay, and we'll have this one. I think I'm going to glue that one flat to give this, you know, a little dimension. And now I didn't put glue all over the whole thing, and that's on purpose because, and you could do this curling a little bit before you put it on here, but otherwise I'm just bending up the petals a little bit. Makes that card just a little bit more interesting. And let's go ahead and stamp our sentiment before I keep, you know, put those final leaves in place. And I think what I'm going to do here is, I don't know if I want Old Olive. Well, I guess I've been stamping everything in Secret Sea, so I think I'll just keep that going. In case I want to give this to someone as a whole set, then I have it all in place. And let's see, I have not used the thank you yet. Let me grab that sentiment in here. Okay, and I need a block for that. And we'll just set that there and pick it up. All right, and ink it up. There we go with our thank you. See how I want to put my leaves in there. I think I kind of like that look. So let's go ahead and put a little glue on here. Oh, yeah, good suggestion. Kathy's saying, measure between the dotted lines on the embossed paper, and that could make a faux ribbon very nicely. I would agree. And depending upon how hard you press on the embossing folder, how you use it, it actually on the crumb cake cardstock, it came apart. Oh, this one isn't that, but see how it actually ripped through here? You could just, see, there comes a piece of it, but this piece that has the two sides, see how that peels apart? That could be your faux ribbon, but you might want to use a nail file to actually file that off, but that would look like faux ribbon on your card. So great suggestion. And actually, this is what I found when I used crumb cake. That cardstock has a little bit different texture. All right, I am going to glue down my thank you, but I am going to pop up that one leaf. So let's do that. So I've kind of gone back and forth. I've been playing with these cards, like I said, quite a bit this weekend. I was having a great time. Going back and forth with dimensionals, glue, the different colors, how I wanted to do this. And I'll tell you, I liked all the different ways. And this set just really makes that easy. So let's go ahead and flip that over. And I'm going to put just a teeny part of one of my dimensionals on here if I can get it apart. I think I have glue on my finger, which makes that a little bit harder to do. Now, why isn't that sticky? Well, I'll use the dimensional, but I'll put a little dot of glue on it, and it'll work just fine. There we go. And I kind of want that to overlap my sentiment label a little bit. And then on the inside, I thought, instead of just doing one layer, I'm actually going to do my 4 by 5 1/4 in Old Olive, and then I'm going to do 3 3/4 by 5 inches for the white, just to make that look a little nicer too. I happen to have that little square of Old Olive, and I'm like, why don't I just put it in the card? So you don't always have to just do one color. You can make the insides look just as gorgeous. Let's go ahead and put this inside. And then you could stamp any inside sentiment that you would want in here as well. I just think it's nice to open a card that has that double border. And, I don't think this looks bad, but like I said, if you wanted to cut those squares down a bit, you could. But see, just tipping up that flower petal really adds some interest. The fact that this pops up and these are flat, it just looks really interesting. So then the thing that we can do on one of these two cards is add a little bling. I didn't add any this time. Now, where did I put my bling? Here it is. And actually, this isn't shiny bling. This is just pretty. Boy, trying to see which one needs something more. You know, I am just going to do it on this one over here and do it like the center of the flower. There. Now, actually, I don't like that just with one. I'm going to put 3 in here and make it go right along the center of that flower. There. Oh, I like that a lot better. Okay, so, you know, so many options that we have with this. Now, let me just share, as I said, I'm doing embossing, heat embossing class with this, and I'm going to feature this suite. And I'm also going to do a fun fold class later this month. And if you buy both classes, I'm going to give you a discount, which I'm figuring out. I'll be putting it out in a day or two for registration. One is going to be next week, Tuesday evening at 7 o'clock. That's going to be the heat embossing class. And I have just a number of ways that you can do the heat embossing to have it look all different ways with the blossoms in this set. And then on the 17th, I'm going to do the Fun Fold class, which is going to be another way to feature the things in this suite. And as I said, I'll give you a discount for those two classes. This is so popular that Stampin' Up! Has also decided to do a class called Lovely Blossoms, and it's for $25 on February 19th. And you'll be able to get in a Facebook group where you will be able to review that video at a later date independently as well. And that is featured on this suite. Just a reminder, if you did an order with Stampin' Up! During January, the day that you placed your order, you should have gotten an email that gave you coupon codes for $5 off. And depending upon how many increments of $50 you bought is how many coupons you got. And you can redeem those now during February. So if you have those, or if you're so inclined to get this whole suite, including the DSP, the dots, the embossing folder, as well as this bundle of Stampin' Dies. If you buy this from Plum Crazy Stamping during February, I will give you $5 cash back in a card that I send you in the mail. That suite, and actually why I chose it is $89.50 for all of this, and how well it all works together. And so that will qualify you for the product of the month, which is a new set of designer series paper called Painted Illusions that you can get for $5. So usually this would be $12.50 to $14.50, and you will be able to get it for $5 as long as it stays in stock. And also this month, spending at least $50, but if you get the product spotlight, the Blossoms collection, you'll also get this 4-card free tutorial from me using the new Nature Walk collection that is also in the online exclusives. And this you could use with any of your other designer series paper or products that have foliage in them. I know you and I probably all have a number of these, but this is 4 new card ideas, which is so nice. And the last thing that's going on this month that I want to make sure that you're aware of is after Stampin' Up! Needed to discontinue the Stamparatus, there was significant interest in getting a new stamp positioning device that is available through Stampin' Up. And I watched the video on this yesterday, and I am going to be putting it in my weekly email coming up so you can see it. But there's very unique features in this new stamp positioning tool, which is going to be available to customers, I think, starting in March. It's available to anybody that would want to join the Plum Crazy Stamping team. It will actually be free, and it's a $49 value. And then you also get $125 of Stampin' Up! Product for $99 with no shipping if you join Plum Crazy Stamping as a team member. So one of the really unique things is you put the photopolymer stamp on the grid, whether it be the full-size grid or the smaller one. And when you line it up, it doesn't touch the paper yet until you press it down. And it has these little rubber feet that spring back right after you're done stamping. It's really unique. I've not seen anything like that in the marketplace. Plus, there's really great magnets. And the issue with our old magnets was, unless you put washi tape on them, they're very hard to lift up. These actually have little built-in tabs to pull them up, which I thought was really a nice added feature. So more to come. More information will be available coming in my email, but don't hesitate to call me, we'll schedule a phone call if you email me at Traci, Traci, at plumcrazystamping.com to talk about the opportunity to join the team, get that stamp positioning device for free, and also get $26 worth of free product when you purchase $99 as part of the starter kit. So with all that said, lots of information. Kathy, thank you for loving this and passing this on. It's awesome when we can share this information with more people. And I'm so glad that you could join me today. As I said, this is one suite that I am totally fired up about. I can't wait to do these classes with you and share them. And let me know what you think. That's most important to me. So with that being said, let me just go back to looking at you and saying, have an awesome week. I hope to see some of you in class. I'm also doing in-person classes. I'm going to be at the Verona Public Library doing a Valentine class on Sunday. I know that the first day it went out, half of the 20 spots that I have available were already filled. So I'm not sure where we're at today, but I'm very excited to do that in partnership with the library. And then next week, I will be doing the first of 2 classes with this suite and heat embossing. We're going to have fun. I'm going to do it with vellum, and we're going to do a little heat resistance technique. So whether you're experienced with heat embossing or you're just starting out, I'm going to be showing you a lot of ways that you can use it in your card making. So friends, happy stamping. Take care, and don't hesitate to reach out if I can help you in any way. Bye-bye now.